Chris Conti here for iCoachSkating.com and Trevor Locke. We're here in Korea. And I'm going to just quickly talk about the correct lacing of particularly the Idea skate. I encountered like a lot of kids in skating skills lessons, and I see this in a lot of different places I go. Kids that have trouble bending into their edges enough, bending into their knees enough. And a lot of times I'll ask them to pull their tights up and look at their skates and find that they just have mislaced their skates completely. So, it's like a musical instrument. In order to play it correctly, you have to position it correctly. You have to get the instrument in the right place in order to play it correctly. So, first things first, a lot of people might not know this about the Idea in particular. Because of the design that the flexibility has been moved forward into the tongue and the lateral stability of the boot is not to be compromised, and this is the dance boot. It's creased because I did that on purpose. I wrecked my Idea skate on purpose so I could stand around in it all day. If I was definitely performing and jumping, I would not have done this to my boot. But I still laced them and tensioned them the way that they're supposed to be. Now, one of the first things is to make sure you do use the centering device in the tongue here. The laces should go through from the second last eyelet, second last lace hole, through the centering, I guess it's just a piece of ballistic nylon, but it goes through there, and then through the hole at the top. It should definitely be from the outside in. If you go from the inside out, and then the skater pulls, it creates a break right here, especially in the fly boot, the ice fly. It shouldn't happen. You don't want that because then you're going to compromise the lateral stability, and that's not how the boot was designed. So you want to make sure that the laces are from the out in. Once you get your foot in there, and we'll talk about why this is important in a minute. Get the heel down in the boot, center the top. Once you've done that, most skaters, and this works, this is good rules for other boots too, will pull back this way. I told a funny story the other day about the pair boy who had pulled this way, broke a lace, and smacked his head against a brick wall and knocked himself out at US Nationals. That's a true story. It actually happened. I believe it was Amir Ganaba, who knocked himself unconscious, and I think they had to withdraw. So it's never a good idea to pull the laces this way. I've actually hit myself in the mouth breaking a lace. So what you really are supposed to do is pull sideways to tension the lace that way. So then I go the next one up, and I firmly pull sideways. And obviously, a lot of times I'll find the skaters just didn't do the throat of the boot. They didn't pull tension at all. So then they pulled a lot of tension up at the top. So now they've got the top of the boot super, super tight, super loose to the middle, and then they wonder why their boots break down. Also, they can't flex forward, and we wonder why they can't bend their knees and they stick their butt out when they try to skate. And we just think it's a physical problem. Well, skaters are great at hiding these things by pulling their tights over their boots or wearing over the boot tights. So that's actually a rule I have, is no over the boot tights in practice, because they also, too, take forever to undo if the kid wants to, retension their skate. So anyway, maybe just before a competition if you wear them in competition. So we continue to go up through the middle of the boot, pulling sideways to tension the lace. Pulling sideways. And now once I get to those top laces, you can see why this works really well. From the outside in, I now can tension sideways. And I have a very nice pull. Everything's equally tensioned there. Now, this is the important thing about lacing the Idea in particular, is to go over the top of the eyelet down. Creates a break or lock on the lace that way, and will hold the tension. Same thing, top of the eyelet over, tension, top of the eyelet over. And now here's the huge mistake that skaters make when they tie, particularly the Idea. They'll go under this and pull it wicked tight here. And then if they tie it super tight here, you've just totally wrecked the design of the Idea. I cannot flex forward anymore in this boot right here where I'm supposed to be flexing forward. So what I want to do is go over the top eyelet and then snug it at the very most if I want to limit the forward flexion. If I want to allow a lot of forward flexion, I'll simply detension that lace. Just put it tight right there without, maybe a tiny bit of slack that can be pulled through. So now I have a little bit of slack off the top eyelet, which will enable the tongue to flex forward as the boot is designed. So now, as you can see, my tibia is able to move forward quite a bit. And look, I can get my whole finger in the back of the boot. However, my ankle position in the boot barely even moves. It's still centered in where the padding is. My lateral stability is still really good. And this is one of the nice things about the design of this boot, is it allows you to flex forward quite a bit more than a lot of comparable boots. So it really is a nice boot for getting down and getting into your knees for your skating skills. So that's basically it. A good rule of thought is to be able to get 2 fingers in the top of the tongue. When I get 2 in the top of the tongue, I know that I can press forward enough. I can get tremendous ankle flexion and knee flexion. Okay? And then, of course, if I want less of that on my skater, you just tension the top eyelet more with relation to the other eyelets, which will then limit the amount of forward flexion. The new version of the Idea has this is a piece of metal inside here that holds the eyelets. So don't be afraid you're going to rip that top eyelет out. It's in there, and it's designed to hold this tension. So it's a little bit of thought on tensioning skates, and if your skates are tensioned properly, you can skate properly. You drop your sits bones and flex forward enough. If your skate is not tensioned properly and the skater cannot get forward at the ankle, where are they going to bend? Well, if I limit the ankle flexion too much, that's going to limit the what? The knee flexion. Where am I not limited in flexion then? Oh, my hips. And that's where we get gorilla posture from. Because the skater is trying to bend into their boot is not allowing them to bend, so it all goes into the butt. It all goes into the hips. Where now if I allow that, I can go straight down and continue to tension, and I get a proper squat. Okay? And that's what we're really after, is a proper athletic squat in your skate. Well, from different manufacturers have different, a couple of different little things about lacing here and there. I can't speak for all of them, but most of them kind of agree with the same type of lacing. Lace, good tension through the throat of the boot from the bottom up. Everything should be tensioned all the way through the throat, nice and snug through the throat. Most of all the manufacturers recommend going over the tops of the eyelets rather than going from underneath the eyelets. And then most of them recommend tying that top one not quite as tight as the others. So I think the rule is pretty much the same, but again, I don't want to speak for other skate manufacturers. Okay, so that's pretty much it about boots.